Our friends. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for another Orc Mode workout, and today was max effort bench press day. It's a quick reminder for those of you who watch these videos every day, please click like down below, help me keep the likes higher than the dislikes. Now let's get over to the training. Today I decided to go ahead and do some light chains, approximately 33 pounds. Before people always chime in with chains, and they're like, does that mean you have whatever at the bottom? No, I have at least 10 pounds of chains still at the bottom. So technically, no, it's not 305 at the bottom. Look at the chains mounted up, and I actually count the collars and everything as part of that. Like my chain collars are actually 3 pounds, so on and so forth. Just for those curious. So again, I'm trying to just work with the little bit wider grip benching, and this is wide for me. It's not really what we would define as wide. It's a standard bench. But I've always been stronger on the closed grip. And again, before my injury, I hit a 352 closed grip bench. For anyone who's forgot that, but I'm stronger at close grip. I haven't been able to do that with a wider grip at all. So as we're building back up, I know I need to work on all of my wider grip pressing. I need to get good at it, so I'm doing everything with pinkies on the rings. My incline, my overhead, everything. And I wanted to build up to this. That's why I hit a training max on this the other day. Okay, then I decided to go ahead and use chains, and people will notice now, yes, I'm using the tight setup, my feet on the floor, keeping my head down, everything else I'm focusing on just saying super tight, squeezing the bar super hard, and just getting some good training maxes in. And these training maxes that I'm doing, people need to remember I'm calculating off these for my rep work, and the point here is that bringing everything back up slowly and carefully. Okay, we're going to bring things up slowly and carefully, and the beauty of it is that even if it's just a training max and people say, well, I think you had more in the tank, but I train off of that percentage of those things, guess what? Guess what? It means that we get strong enough off the training to PR. Okay? In other words, if your max is actually 530 pounds on a lift and you do a training max of 500 and you calculate off the 500, you will still be strong enough next time you come in to hit heavier than 500. Okay, right? You'll at least maintain your strength, and if it was close enough to your other max, you will over time gain some. But I'm going to do it careful. Everything is going to be heavy, and people are realizing that. I'm doing double maxes. I went over to double max effort conjugate already, and now I've gone over to taking both days to max effort. Everything is with heavier weights. Right, I'm not doing any high reps other than a couple of select movements. And that's come up, people have said, hey, what's up with the work capacity there? Well, work capacity is fine. I do conditioning every day. I actually do conditioning work a lot of times before I even bench. So I did conditioning work in GBP this morning, a couple hours actually before I did my actual benching. So we're doing Metcon or GBP, whatever you want to call it, conditioning work. I do it all the time, keeping the work capacity up. And because I have all that in there and my bit of restoration work and stuff, I'm not worried about any sort of real high reps. I'm still hitting effective volumes, and that's what matters. People need to remember that too. Again, look at the data in all these volume debates. Look at the discussions of effective reps and hypertrophy and all this stuff, and then plug in the numbers you see me doing in the workouts. We're getting hypertrophy from this. Okay? Just because it's not whatever expert's definition of maximum recoverable volume, it's largely irrelevant. No one has ever said or implied that good or great hypertrophy requires maximum recoverable volume. No one has ever argued that point. No expert that I'm aware of. They're arguing that if you do double the volume that you might get 1 or 2% more progress. That's what they're arguing. Okay, so we went ahead and we did 305 on the bench, plus 33 pounds of chains. Part of that I want to start getting heavier weight on my back and in my hands and stuff again, so I'm going to do more and more maxes with chains for now until I go back to the classic lifts. And I'll work with my different specialty bars, obviously, especially for the squatting right now. Keep my shoulders healthy because I'm bench specializing. I'm doing a lot of pressing volume and variations. Okay. So we got the 185 there. And I've actually had a few people come in and say, Jason, why is that weaker than your standing press? Well, how do we know? My standing press was down to 100 pounds when I hurt my shoulder on those ring pull-ups. It was down to 100 pounds. That's more than 100 pounds. Just because I've hit 225 before doesn't mean that that's where it is right now. Also, I think people are forgetting I'm doing those off pins. It's not a seated press, it's a seated pin press. Pin presses are harder. So I'm actually happy with the 185. But my God, let me get that pin press to 225. Okay, be good to go at that point. So we went ahead and calculated off my last one. I kept my old bench PR because that one is not really a straight weight. So unless I'm going to do percentages off chains and do chain work, which I don't feel that I need to do today, I don't need the extra tricep work on my current benching. I feel like I need the extra chest. We went ahead and did it this way. And yes, everything's controlled and I try to explode up. But I'm trying to, again, focus upon staying as tight as I possibly can. So again, keeping everything pulled in super tight, and it's really uncomfortable for me. One reason I've always avoided wider grip pressing, and it's something I've said in the past, chest training is excruciating for me. Like you'll hear people say silly stuff, oh man, heavy deadlifts or heavy squats hurt. A little bit. I mean, a 500 squat's uncomfortable. I don't hurt when I do it. I hurt from a 275 bench, even though that's not even my max. If I do a single rep with 275, my pecs literally hurt, and it's sharp pain. And it's always been that way. My entire training life. Any sort of chest pressing has always been physically painful. Like I would describe it as not a burn, not a pump, but an actual sharp pain that lances through both of my pecs. And usually I start experiencing it anything up to about 50% max. So, but I'm just dealing with it. I'm like, look, I'll just deal with it. I need to get my bench up. My chest needs to grow. We'll just do it. But I'm focusing on staying really, really tight with everything. Trying to pause all of these, but keeping a tight pause. So it's not a sink, it's a pause. We stay tight and then drive. So it's control, drive. Control, pause, drive as hard as I can. Try to push them up fast. And in a quick 3x3, and the bench will go up from this. Bench will go up from this. Again, calculating off those percentages, and I'm just going to keep climbing it up. I don't know if the 375 is doable this year that I had set out as the goal. I'll be over 350 again, though. But you know what? I'm going to let it land where it lands. I think if I just bring it all back up carefully, continue to do all the heavy weak point training, train all these angles, which is, again, dips, incline, overhead, everything, it'll be good. Now, some people have said, why the dips? A combination of chest and tricep. The dips let me hit more of my low chest than I get on any other lift, which can affect that bottom of that bench. And it lets me hit the triceps with a very, very effective tricep exercise that doesn't fatigue the delts, so that I can do delt work afterwards, which will also hit the triceps. This is how I will keep my triceps growing. Now, if they really need extra work, I can throw in JM presses again. I think they'll do fine. Notice my tricep weakness is gone on all my benching now. It's gone. And I think stuff like the dips will help maintain that. Because again, it's working the triceps quite a bit different and using a different muscle than the other pressing is doing in terms of overall fatigue. So it lets me use several other muscles throughout a training session to hit the triceps from a couple different angles with heavy multi-joint movements. Now I'll need to max on the dips eventually, but I feel like this weight I'm using here, I feel like I'm in that effective zone. Like I feel like I'm at 85% max or heavier when you combine the plates with my body weight. And we're getting up there, 90 pounds. And I'll try to slowly work it back up over time if I don't max to get percentages. I mean, I'll max on most of my stuff, but I don't think I have to have it on every single exercise. And we did our incline bench. Focusing on trying to pause. I'm trying to pause on these a little bit. Just a nice controlled pause, trying not to bounce it. Why? Because I do need the extra chest. These get a great stretch on the chest. Obviously, it's a phenomenal front delt exercise. It's really what incline shine at. But again, additional chest work. So I'm trying to get a nice controlled touch and then trying to pause at least on the last rep. These are uncomfortable for me because of the amount of stretch on my chest, though. It is uncomfortable on the way down. Again, due to kind of what I've explained before. But again, the only way to get around that, maybe if I just keep training the chest enough and we get all the different ranges of motion, that problem will resolve itself. These, again, like it'll be written down below. People who are like, well, what's your weight and reps? And it's all written down below, guys. It's in the description. And if I forget, someone reminds me and I post it because it's always typed out. But again, 3 sets of 3 here. And the whole point with all this is, again, we are working with weights at this point to where every rep is an effective rep. Okay, we're at a point where the very first rep is hitting upper threshold fibers. For those who don't understand, upper threshold fibers are what you get on the last few reps before muscle failure. Okay. So the whole idea is that every rep is an effective rep. Everything is heavy. I'm combining tension with effective reps. That's what we're going to do for a while. And again, I get enough other conditioning work in. I'm not worried about work capacity. And I'm going to go really, really heavy for a while. We need to just get as strong as possible. I need to get strong at every angle. Dips, incline, overhead, chins, rows, different deadlifts, good morning squats. Right? Because I can get all my other volume off of my sled drags, my weighted carries, which are my farmer's walks handles, on my reverse hypers. I'm actually doing some base pulls and band work and stuff for my rear delts and everything anyways. So they are getting a bit of volume because I need my rotator cuffs to stay healthy. So that stuff's getting hit, in between, and obviously abs. People always ask that sometimes, why don't you do abs? I do tons of abs. I do at least 10 sets of abs a week. Of real ab work, like actual hanging leg raises to failure. And I have pretty big, heavy legs, so they're challenging for me. I'm usually burning by the 10th rep on a leg raise, even with body weight, if I don't add chains around my ankles. Sometimes I like to add a little weight. Like if I want to really make it hard and bail around 8 to 10, I need to actually put weight on. But yeah, I try to do, about 10 sets per week of actual direct ab work. And that's always a good baseline. Again, people will always ask, how much training volume does a muscle need to grow? Well, if you're worried about a muscle not getting enough from some of your bigger movements, about 10 sets a week. Perfectly reasonable. 10 sets. So that's my goal. And I'm not saying I don't do more some weeks, right? But I aim for about 10. And I feel like it's a good number. My abs are certainly not small. They're certainly not weak, and it seems to be working just fine. And you don't have to overdo it. And then I have a history on some of these restoration type movements of way overdoing them, and I don't know that they've done as much for me, other than, again, maybe build tendons. And I've tended to do that even with the rear delt stuff and everything. And I'm even doing that probably now with face pulls. I don't even know how many sets of face pulls I do a week, 10, 15, 20. I don't know. Don't really care. Is it probably junk volume? Probably. But again, considering the benefits for the rear delts, the fact that it also hits the side delt, I'm not really doing much in the way of any side delt work. If I feel like I need more of it, because I actually think at this point just the face pulls and overhead pressing and the rowing will probably continue to get me where I need to go there. And if they don't, I can always try to mess with some snatch grip high pulls and stuff again. But I feel like they aggravated my shoulder just a little bit through the whole healing process. And as much as I love the exercise, I think it's an amazing exercise, I don't know that my shoulder is healed enough to get away with that. It's doing fine on the overhead work. And I'm actually okay on the chins. I noticed on one of them the other day I maybe got a little low, and it slightly aggravated it, but then it went away. And today I don't feel any pain at all. So I got the range of motion just right to where I'm not putting that extra stretch. And again, I think a lot of it is partially tricep inflexibility. I've noticed I have really tight long heads on my triceps. So that could be a factor as to why it all pulls on my shoulder, because really the problem with a lot of it was that I have a tendon that was also coming out of place on my tricep. And I kept having to pop it back into place. After, again, that's what happened during that injury. And the whole thing, I think, just contributed to that impingement. But I've got it largely rehabbed, and so I do need to be very careful of certain ranges of motion. I need to continue to do shoulder mobility work. I need to continue to do the rear delt and rotator cuff work, with bands and everything. And just I need to really watch that range of motion on the chins and not let other people tell me, oh, you need to do this, you need to go a little further down. Well, I'll do it when my shoulder will allow me to do it safely. And I don't think that it really matters. Why am I doing chins? To build my lats, my biceps, and as an extra grip exercise. Let's do it. It'll do all of that just fine. without letting my shoulders unpack at the bottom. Okay. What I'm essentially trying to do is not let my scapula protract. I can avoid it there. I get plenty of scapular protraction without hurting my shoulder on the rows. Okay. And I think it's pretty fair to say my lats are getting work here. They'll grow. And we need to get lats, and that's going to be a big deal to me. I'm going to really push chins and rows really hard. And again, I did these rows heavier today. Getting pretty heavy here. It's like 265 for triples. I felt these at the point where I feel my back really straining at my sticking point on my deadlift. So what did I say the other day? I feel like when I quit rowing, my deadlifts regressed. Okay, it was up pulling well past 600. It's regressed a bit. And I think it was me cutting out the barbell rows. I've just always gotten so much out of rows for my deadlift. The pin leg row, the strict row off the floor. So I need to get these back up. You know, and I really need to be repping 315. Right? I've got to get better and better at these. And they feed the chin-ups. The chin-ups feed these. Same thing, my curling feeds the chin-ups. And if my biceps don't become the weak link, it allows me to pull more weight on a chin-up. My lats will grow faster. Get even more grip training. Stronger lats will equal better rows. Everything feeds into everything else. There's all this synergy between the movements. Just like I do incline to help my bench, the standing press helps the incline, so on and so forth. Okay, these exercises feed each other. If I really want to fully develop my back, rows like this, one of the best ways to go. Again, with a little bit of extra rear delt work. Combining it with chins, and then again, doing curls to help with that. I did cheat curls today. People are like, I thought you were doing strict curls. I was doing strict curls. I want to mess with some cheat curls now for a bit. Again, let's talk about carrying over to the chin up. Okay, cheat curls. Think about the movement and the muscle involved. You want your biceps to be stronger on a chin up. Want a cheat curl help? Of course it will. And again, we're changing it up a little bit, getting a little bit of different training stimulus. That nice eccentric load on the way down. Now, these I didn't go super heavy because I don't normally do cheat curls. I very, very rarely have done them. But I'd said before I was going to alternate with a few different types of big curls, like the strict curls, maybe do a couple different grips, mess with the straight bar, maybe some cheat curls. I've already said all that a while back. But I think it's a good period to mess with some cheat curls. Nice, big, heavy movements that will carry over to my other lifts. You know, and there's a lot of good data. Cheat curls are better than people think they are. A lot of times people say, oh, well, that's just taking stress off the bicep. Look at the EMG data. Cheat curl is a legitimate big multi-joint movement. Go look at the EMG stuff on it. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how good of an exercise it is based upon the data we have. Cheat curls are legit, especially if you pair it with a chin-up. But happy with today's workout, so I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.